Rev up your engines!
Well, GM is discontinuing the North American Chevy Blazer SUV. They've been around for a while, right? And they're discontinuing them. Well, sort of. They're discontinuing the gasoline version, but they're going to continue with the electric vehicle that no one wants to buy. Okay, so what are they doing? They're replacing a vehicle that I'm not a big fan of GM, but they sold a lot of Blazer SUVs, right? They got a fan base. They're getting rid of the ones that people want, and they're replacing them with, guess what? An electric version. Now, if you know anything about SUVs, generally families buy them. They want the convenience of taking everybody everywhere. They go on their vacations with them. It's exactly the last thing that you should do with a battery electric car. They're no good at long range. Kids screaming and whining. You're going somewhere, and now you got to sit for 2 or 3 hours charging the battery in the car. Oh, that's going to leave a great family dynamic for that vacation. As usual, GM is screwing up everything that they do. Take a vehicle that they actually sell, the Blazer regular one. Oh, no more of that. We're only going to make an electric one. And here's the hilarious one. Guess where the electric one's going to be made? Well, in Mexico, according to what they say. Yes, just what you want. A high-tech electric vehicle made in low-tech Mexico. These people, they don't learn. They just want to save money. I mean, that's all it comes down to is save money it costs in building them. I mean, look at the Ford Mustang electric vehicle, right? Has nothing to do with a Ford Mustang. It's an SUV electric vehicle. It is a massive failure. How many have you personally seen? I've seen 2 on the road, right? And they actually were the same one. It was in Rhode Island when I was going to eat in Providence. And I noticed, so I took a picture of it, and then I saw it again. It was the same license plate. So I've really only ever seen one driving down the road. They are not popular. And GM, you're screwing it up, getting rid of a vehicle people want and replacing it with what? An electric vehicle. Can anybody say dead from the neck up? Yes, that's what GM is. Can't help laughing at this. You watch the Super Bowl, you'll notice that Jeep and Stellantis were the only car companies that advertised during the Super Bowl, okay? Maybe the other car manufacturers are wising up and saying, well, that's a gigantic waste of money. Do you think somebody's going to buy a car just because they saw an ad during the Super Bowl? They used Harrison Ford, all right? Ford, right? Kind of a play on Ford. They probably thought it was funny, right? Well, really, if you think about it, Jeep's kind of a washed-up company, so they got an old washed-up actor to go in there. It kind of fits, right? And here's the hilarious thing. They have advertised before in the Super Bowl. And look at the failures they were advertising. Back in 2011, hey, what did they feature? The Chrysler 200 sedan was a massive failure, right? Fiat crap that they're calling it Chrysler with all these Fiat engine transmission parts. They were rolling piles of junk, right? So, stuff they featured in the past failed, so they continue to advertise, and the only car company who did. The other ones have wised up, and I'm laughing my butt off because now that Carlos Tavares is gone there, he's the old head of Stellantis that owned Chrysler and stuff. He left, right, and they said, we're going to have to do things differently. Well, they're doing the same old crap they did before, and they think that advertising is going to fix the company, right? Advertising. Hey, how about lowering the price and making quality vehicles? That might be a better idea than throwing money in a Super Bowl ad with a washed-up actor. Okay, and the guy behind these ads is Olivier Francois. He's a Frenchman, born in Paris, France, right? Now, what is this? We're having French directors making advertisements to try to sell Americans something, you know? I mean, come on now. It is comical. Hey, the only thing that would have been funnier is if they would have got an Italian doing it. It could be like the old Italian movies with all these crazy iconic imagery flashing all over the place, right? I don't think that it's going to sell any cars for them, but I find it hilarious that they were the only car manufacturer that bothered to run ads, because if you did watch the Super Bowl, I analyzed the stuff. They had so many unsold ad periods. They kept adding their own shows and stuff they're going to be doing for Fox, right? They couldn't sell that stuff, and the car manufacturer's like, we're not wasting all this millions for this crap. But Chrysler was the only one dumb enough to stick hair Harrison Ford in it, right? That's going to sell Jeeps. And a little subtlety of, we fit everyone. Look, we have electric ones. They showed Harrison Ford plugging in an electric Jeep, right? The last thing on earth most Jeep drivers want is an electric Jeep that's going to strand them in the middle of the woods, right? I mean, these people are so far away from reality. And Stellantis, you gotta laugh at it. It's just comical. Well, here is a weird one. Stellantis engineers say that eggshells can make tires more efficient, better in the rain. Well, we got a problem with that bird flu. You know, there was an egg shortage. Will there be an eggshell shortage? Stellantis is claiming that if they use the bio waste of eggshells in tire manufacturing, make tires degrade slower. Better be walking on eggshells on this one. Well, in this case, you'd be driving on eggshells. This is a patent that's been submitted by Stellantis that is using eggshells to make tires. The idea is to extract calcium oxide from old eggshells and use these eggshells to replace carbon black and silica as a tire filler. If you don't know, they use a thing called carbon black. Hey, eggshells are all over the place, so no matter where they have a factory, there's eggshells, right? And it turns out that hen eggs are more than 90% calcium carbonate. So there's a lot of calcium carbonate in them. And of course, think about it. If you take the eggshells away, there's less of them in landfills. I can't say how much space eggshells are really going to take up in landfills. But the main thing is it's replacing chemical-derived materials. So there's less poison for the environment. Carbon black is dirty. They also put silicone stuff. That's a real dirty process. So if they have a cleaner process to make tires, hey. And the weird thing is, calcium oxide can improve a tire's rolling resistance and give better grip in wet conditions. Who would have thought driving on eggshells would make tires work better, right? They claim that using eggshells will improve fuel efficiency by 3% and rolling resistance by 20% compared to a standard tire that's made with carbon black. And the interesting thing is, since it makes them last longer, they degrade slower. So not only do your tires last longer, but they pollute less. You might not realize this, but one of a big source of pollution we breathe in are car tires. And these are micro particles of rubber that wear out and fly through the air. You always wonder, think about it. You buy brand new tires, they're nice and thick. Couple, 3 years later, maybe 50, 60,000 miles later, you notice they're all worn out. Well, what happens to that rubber? Well, you know what happens is it goes into the atmosphere and we breathe it in. So the less of that stuff we breathe in, the better for us. Well, it looks like the electrification and batteryification, if there's such a word, of the country is starting to slowly disappear. The wheels are falling off the electric bandwagon. Giant company called Freyr just killed plans to build a $2.7 billion battery factory in Georgia. Well, they said they were going to build it, but now they're saying, well, people aren't buying this stuff. That's why I say when they give you these promises, we're going to do this, it means nothing. For example, Stellantis just said they are going to invest billions in the United States to make cars, right? They said they're going to, right? That doesn't mean anything, right? These promises are just like the air around us. It moves all over the place, right? And the hot air, what does it do? It goes straight up in the air. And in this case, yet another electric factory going down the toilet because people are realizing, gee, these things aren't economically feasible. If people aren't buying this crap, we can't just keep making it. We'll be stuck with a bunch of stuff nobody wants to buy. And of course, in this case, they're not even building a factory to make the stuff in the first place. They're nixing that. Nah, we're not going to build that one. Well, they say the earth is warming up, the oceans are rising. Well, Hyundai is trying to help humans adapt to this. Hyundai has now shown us their rickshaw of the future, which can lift itself up through the floodwaters. Check this thing out, man. That is bizarre, right? You might not think much of it in the United States, but in India and other countries, if you've seen any of these documentaries, they're riding around those crazy little rickshaws with the little motors. Ding, 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 ding. Well, guess what? If it's flooding, they can't go through very deep water. Well, three-wheeled, they call them tuk-tuks, actually go up in the air. Now, these things are dirt cheap. They hardly cost anything. I mean, these things aren't crazy. incredibly cheap. You know, you get brand new ones for like $1,500 or less, and they make a business driving around. So, you know, it's a profitable thing. But the problem is, of course, they can get stuck if it's really wet outside. So what Hyundai did was they designed a height adjustable body that they can raise the passenger compartment to drive them through pretty deep water without getting the cabin wet. And the interesting thing is, this is an electric vehicle. Electric vehicle and water doesn't sound like it goes together very well. They better have them sealed really well, right? Because, I mean, after all, the U-boats the Germans used, they had a diesel engine and electric motors and batteries, and they went real deep in the water, but the Germans knew how to seal things. Now, does Hyundai know how to make these things? Hey, well, we'll find out, but they're trying to adapt to our rising oceans, I guess, and monsoon weather, so they can continue to drive around their little electric rickshaws. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.